Question is how can Christians themselves get involved in politics, and are there specific examples that you can give?
Yes. When you talk of Christians, is any believing Christian, anybody who believes Christ, be it from any denomination. We classify as Christians those who have faith in Jesus Christ and faith in God, as explained by the Christian Bible. Yes. You know, we have many scriptures. We have the Hindu scripture, we have the Muslim Quran and all that, but the Christians are the ones who are defined by the principles of the Bible and those who believe and trust in the word that is written in the Bible. Yes. And therefore, these Christians come to churches every Sunday and any other appointed day in the week to worship, but they also come to be taught on Christian principles and values. They come to listen God's words for inspiration, personal inspiration. They come to learn, how to lead a pious Christian life, which walks, a daily walk with God. Yes. That I have someone, looking up to. I have somebody I'm looking up to, and this now in this scenario we have a God we are looking up to, and therefore what we see is an opportunity for us to be able to have them. That's what the church provides, and therefore anybody who comes to church, our hope is they become true followers of the Word of God. Yes. But we must also accept that in the church, there are many people who come to church, but they're not necessarily believers. Yes. They come, they identify themselves as members, but the Word has not impacted them. That's what I mean. The Word has not impacted them. They don't live according to the Word. Sometimes they live lives that, is even contrary to the very Word. And the church is still comfortable to have them in because, preaching doesn't happen in one day. It doesn't change somebody in one day. So the reason why we preach every Sunday is for us to give an opportunity for whoever come to church, to have a perspective. Maybe this Sunday he did not get something that, is life-changing. Probably the next, or even after a year, after 2 years, somebody might get a word that hit and becomes a life-changing. Somebody may come to a realization that I've been living a lie within myself. And that's why we give the opportunity, and that's why we have everybody in the church, and we don't buy anybody. Whether you are practicing Christian or you are just a nominal Christian, you are welcome to come to the church. And therefore, why must we concern ourselves with why do we want Christians to be involved in politics? Yes. One single reason is to get people with integrity, people with the right values, people who have a God they fear, people who follow the commandment of God, so that when the Bible says don't steal or don't, kill or don't misuse resources, because all that is corruption and all is amounting to theft, or don't make a lie in public. And so if we have people who cannot be able to do that, then we are going to get the right leaders to manage their affairs, because they are going to manage with integrity. They are going to manage with values, because Christianity is supposed to transfer to us a set of biblical principles that becomes our values, something we are ready to die for. And therefore, if we get Christians more and more involved in politics, then we shall have a better way of doing it. In the Bible, especially the Old Testament, you could not differentiate, a religious leader and a political leader. They worked hand in hand. Sometimes God appoint, and it is embodied in the same person. Yes. If you look at David, King David is the most worshiping person. He wrote the whole the biggest part of Psalms, the book of Psalms, which is adorations to God, and he was a king. So he was the military leader. He was a king himself. He was a worshipper. So if you go to look at Moses, he was called by God, looking after his father's sheep, to go and lead the children of Israel out of bondage, and he became both their spiritual and their political leader. So it was God's appointment. It's not through an election, but he was given mandate by God. And most prophets, actually, before and judges, if you read up the book of Judges, most of those leaders at the time, you can name them. Samson, they both led a nation, but they led them politically and also in a spiritual sense. Yes. It was until the demand for a king and Saul came on board. Now the prophet Samuel has to be used by God to appoint the king. So we saw in the Old Testament even appointments of kings. was through God sending the prophet. And the prophet worked hand in hand, either correcting the king or warning the king or telling the king, this is not acceptable, God does not like this to happen. Yes. And we see that, that arrangement. But the perfect example of a person who was both a spiritual leader and political leader is Joseph in the Bible. This was a boy who had dreams, and God showed him many things. And whenever he interpreted the dreams that God was showing him, he attracted a lot of jealousy, but he walked closer with God. His brother sold him to Egypt. He was bought as a slave boy. He was implicated by the wife of his master, because he tried to make advances on him, and he refused because he feared his God. That's the kind of integrity we are talking about. He said, I fear God more than man. And when this lady saw that this young man, handsome man, cannot agree to her advances, then she implicated him that he wanted to rape me.
Yes.
And he was imprisoned. Yeah. And it was at the prison when Pharaoh got this dream that was life-changing for Egypt. And he could not get an interpreter. And when one of the prisoners, who was also released, came to know that Pharaoh is looking for an interpreter, he said, there was a Hebrew boy in prison who used to interpret all our dreams, and they come true. And the boy was rich too. And he came and interpreted the dream of Pharaoh that there's going to be 7 years of famine and 7 years of drought, represented by the dream of 7 fat cows being swallowed by 7 thin cows. Yeah. And he interpreted properly. Now, the leadership part now which emerged out of Joseph was, he did not just interpret the dream. He went ahead to say what must be done if we are to survive the 7 bad years. And he gave Pharaoh a plan. And he came with a very robust strategic plan. He said to Pharaoh, you need now to appoint a leader who will mobilize the whole land of Egypt to produce crop and livestock in the 7 good years, which God is going to give us sufficient rain. Yeah. Then create strategic stores in every city so that you address issues of logistic transportation. Then have everybody collect a fifth. This is where taxation began. Collect a fifth of every person's produce, store it in strategic stores. When the 7 bad years come, then we shall have plenty of food. And, Pharaoh looked at him and asked his counselors, is there anybody in whom the Spirit of God resides in him other than this foreign man? Yes. And they all agreed, there's nobody else like Joseph. And Joseph was appointed, in today's world, we can call it prime minister position. And he led and mobilized the land completely, managed it, created the stores, made people harvest, and took the fifth. He got his clerks until every store was full. And in verse 41, chapter 49, verse 49 of chapter 41 of Genesis, he said, now stop bringing because it is beyond measure. We cannot take any more stocks. Yes. And what that did to Egypt was it made Egypt survive the 7 bad years. Instead of becoming a borrower, it became a lender. Instead of becoming a buyer, it became a seller. Instead of becoming, a beggar, it became a giver. So, that's the kind of transformational leadership we are talking about. Somebody who can see far, who has a vision. Yes. Somebody who can act on a plan, strategically work through it, and create a nation that is not going to be a beggar, is not going to be, a borrower, is going to be a lender, grow an economy that is going to sustain everybody else and lead people through a catastrophic moment. So this is a perfect example, I can say, of somebody with integrity, which I now want to say, if we have a Christian leader with integrity, who can be able to manage the affairs of a country, and ensure that there is no corruption, there is nothing, everybody is going to produce properly, and resources are matched to productivity, and then we can now have hope that we are going to have a nation that is going to lead us to somewhere. So Christian leadership is not only Christian, but people of faith leadership is very, very critical to a nation. Somebody who has values that are driving that person. If you get that person at the helm, either as a governor, or a president, or or a member of parliament, suppose we have members of parliament who have values that are driving them. Yes. We will not see the many things that we see. Normally, after every election, the first sitting is increase their salaries. We hear all these stories, whether whether true or false. You know, before any bill is properly passed, there is a lot of envelopes that have to exchange, whether for them to accept it or to reject it. You know, if there are forces that want that bill to be rejected, they give them something for them to reject. Or if there is you know, they have to be both to agree to it. So if we have Christian leaders or, you know, people of integrity, all those envelopes will not be playing. It will be their conscience, you know, their belief system that is going to make them make the decision. Because leadership is all about making the right decisions. And if we don't have people who are going to sit to be governed and guided by a set of values that will lead them to make the right decisions, then we are going to have people who are going to make all sorts of wrong decisions.
Thank you very much. So that is an amazing answer. Now, right now, the political landscape is really heating up. We have Kenya Kwanza, we have Azimio, and we have a lot of other, you know, cropping up. So the question I want to put to you is that, are you happy with the political state in Kenya, how we run our campaigns, how the politicians talk on TV? What guidance would you give to people who are watching all that is happening around us?
Yeah, I've heard many people say, these days I don't want to watch TV because it doesn't inspire.
Yeah.
Especially, you know, the prime news hour, because you know, when it comes to rhetoric you hear in political rallies, either you hear, you know, a set of big promises which, you know, they're not going to deliver.
Yeah.
These promises were made in 2005 in that referendum. They were made in 2002. The same promises were made in 2007. Yeah. They are still made. They were made in 2013. They are being made in 2017, and they are being made in 2022. The same will still be made in 2027, even 2032. Why am I saying that? You know, most of our political players are the ones who have been playing politics for the last 15, 20 years. So I don't see any big change. So I'm telling Kenyans, don't expect too much. It's promises time. The time will come, promises will go, reality will dawn, we'll have an elected government. And I don't think we are going to expect the heaven they are promising. Because, you know, when you hear those promises, it is like Kenya is going to be like a little heaven by October, November this year, when they settle in. But it's not going to be. It's still going to be the same Kenyans. You know, I was reading a magazine yesterday, and somebody says, you know, there are many things out there that affect life. But what boils out to be very critical is what you can control, what you can't control. And somebody said, you know, we are in very uncertain times, and we are in a very uncontrolled environment. Yeah, so basically what I'm saying is that, you know, the kind of promises and the landscape, you know, political landscape in Kenya is a very interesting scenario. And I've said earlier that, you know, these many big promises that are being made in political rallies, I think we need to hold these people accountable. And the same promises were made earlier, and nothing really tangible happened. Alongside the many promises they are making. So what I see is, you know, we are even degenerating, apart from the promises that sometimes are unrealistic or unworkable. What annoys more is the whole culture of insults and abusive language, and we have reduced our political engagement and our political, you know, rhetoric to become politics of personalities, because of the abusive language that is in it. And you know, they are even degenerating into all manner of, like, you know, making it like look like a circus. You see, when the introduction of it is, you know, is this dancing. The other day, the whole debate in the radio I was listening is, you know, how our politician ladies are, you know, making the body moves. So it's a whole thing that, you know, is it a joke? So when you look at it, is it a joke, or is it a kind of a rally that is just for public show? Is it an entertainment circus? So I think our politics is a mixture of either entertainment or, you know, and I think they are doing it deliberately, because all what they need is something that attracts crowds. I talked to a number of young men who are telling me, you know, even most of us don't have votes, and we are the ones who are present in these political rallies, and they were telling me, you know, I have t-shirts of every formation. So that when UDA come and I become yellow, I have yellow t-shirts enough and a yellow cap. And when Azimio come, I have the blue ones and the red ones all together. because it is harvest time. And to the young people, it's harvest time. So I said, then, are you going to vote then on 9? They said, what for? Because it doesn't matter. Where after we fought, these people will go and have a cup of tea. Then they make another handshake. And I've heard many young people will say, what we are going to do is only to eat what is being offered, because there's nothing serious about these guys. After whichever side wins, because they may not manage alone, they will need the other ones. A handshake is imminent. They will do it, and then our life continues. So, and I think this is where we need to warn Kenyans that yes, let us look at how the politicians are dealing with us politically, and let us not put all our investment of life to any of these politicians or political formation. Let us do what we can control. That's the point I was making. In uncontrollable circumstances, in certain circumstances of uncertainties, what is going to be very, very critical is what I can control and what I can do within my reach and within myself. So one, we need people who will, exercise self-control in terms of making a resolve. So Kenyans, make a resolve, whoever you want to choose, not because of money, not because of your tribe, but because there is something you believe in that person, or you believe in that formation. Probably there is something in the blueprint that you trust, and then you say, I'm voting for that. Vote with your mind and your heart together, so that it's not just with your emotions. The next thing I want to say to urge Kenyans is that let us know that 80% of our success will not come from the political promises. It will come from my hard work, your hard work. So every farmer, don't lose your valuable time. This is planting season. Don't rush to those political rallies when you're supposed to plant your farm, because it is your farm which is not going to give you produce, and it's your children who are going to go hungry. It is not anybody's children. It will be your children. If you do not attend that rally and you plant your maize and then you weed them, come election and they go, but you have your food in the store. Because what we can do is what we can manage ourselves. So if we can be able to tell every Kenyan that let us bank too much on what we can do for ourselves and our families, because that is what is left of us. That is what we can control. We will not control the many big promises the politicians are making. So my response to the scenario, because there is very little you can change about the politics of Kenya. It has been carried over for a long period of time, and it will need some time for us to eradicate it. And to eradicate it is, when we begin to have leaders with values in those positions who will be able to govern the nation with the fear of God, not with their own, protecting their own interest. Because most of the time is that we get leaders who come there particularly to protect their interest. And if you look at the arrangement of today, those in the Azimio and those in the Kenya Kwanza, if you go deeper, they are fighting because they want to protect what they already amassed. And for them to be able to protect is to be in leadership, so that they protect and even amass more. And therefore, it is not so much about wananchi. It's not so much about, even if we are told about all these models, bottom up and whatever, it's not going to be about us. It's not going to be about those people. It's going to be about them protecting what they have already gotten. And I think if we are able to tell Kenyans, work hard on your part, feed your family, build your house, do your business, put food on the table, honestly. And if we all are resilient, what we shall be demanding of government is create an enabling environment.